All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with lesson 4.2, our second lesson here in chapter 4 on triangles. Like we said today, what we're going to be taking a look at is finding angle measures. We're going to talk about the angle measures of a triangle and what we know. So our vocabulary, the first thing they're going to introduce you to is a corollary. And we won't necessarily be using the word corollary in what we do or need to recognize corollary, but you're going to see the statement like corollary 4.3. And what that is, it's just a statement. It's a true statement that you can make following a theorem that is proven quickly by that theorem. So it's one of those things like, oh, if I know this, then I automatically can deduce a following statement. So that's what we call a corollary. Interior angles are the three original angles in the interior of the triangle. Now I say original because when we get to our next definition, we're going to see why. We have exterior angles. It's the angles that are created when the sides of the triangle are extended and they're adjacent to the interior angles. So let's take a look at a triangle. All right, and then we're going to extend each side in one direction. I'm going to go clockwise. So I'm going to extend this out, extend this side, and extend this side. So our interior angles, we'll say, are 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3 were our interior angles. If I now look, I have to be outside of the triangle, but adjacent to an interior angle. So here's angle 1. The adjacent angle would be angle 4 here, we'll call this. This would be angle 5. These would be adjacent angles. They share the side. And then angle 6. So our exterior angles are what we would call 4, 5, and 6. It's when you take each side and extend it in one direction, continue extending it as its ray. All right, so let's take a look at what we're doing here. We have our first triangle sum theorem. So the sum of the measures of the angles of a triangle is, hopefully you already know this, 180 degrees. So what that would mean symbolically, if we took the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C, that would equal 180 degrees. So let's use this to help us. It's, guys, not much different than when we were finding angle measures when we knew we had straight angles or supplementary angles or linear pairs or complements. If I know angle A is 35 degrees, and I know angle B is 85 degrees, what they're going to want me to do is find angle C. So I'm going to use the triangle sum theorem that states the measure of angle 1, or measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C is 180 degrees. I'm then going to do a little bit of substitution. So I'm going to substitute in what I know. I know that the measure of angle A is 35 degrees. The measure of angle B is 85 degrees. And so I can replace those measurements with their actual degrees, and I know it still equals 180 degrees. We're going to simplify, so that means you're combining your like terms here. So we're going to combine this and get 120 degrees plus the measure of angle C is equal to 180. And then what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 120 from each side to get the measure of angle C is 60 degrees. So angle C has a measure of 60 degrees. From what we studied in lesson 4.1, we would know that this is an acute triangle because all three angles measure less than 90 degrees. So what we want to do is, in example 1, suppose that the student found the measure of angle C by doing the following calculation: 180 minus 35 minus 85. Does this method work? Explain. I want to see your words. Okay? And then, does this method use this triangle sum theorem? Explain. I'm going to want to see your words. So I'm going to collect those during the warm-up time. Collect your note-taking guides from you during the warm-up time and check these explanations real quickly, so you need to have those done. All right, so now what we have is this corollary. So we have the corollary to a triangle sum theorem. So the acute angles of a right triangle are going to be complementary. So symbolically, in triangle ABC, if the measures of angle C equals 90 degrees, then the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle A has to equal 90 degrees also, because 90 plus 90 equals 180. That's how we know that they have to be complements, is because I have to get to this total of 180. If one angle has 90, that means the other two added together automatically equal 90 degrees, and that's our definition of being complementary. So that's what we mean by a corollary. It's something that quickly follows a theorem. All right, so now what we want to do is find an angle measure. So we know triangle ABC, so let's highlight that in red, triangle ABC. So A, B to C. And angle BDC, BDC are right triangles. So we know that this is a right triangle here, this symbol gives it away. We know this is a right triangle, this symbol gives it away. So let's assume that angle ABD is 35 degrees. So they're telling me that this angle ABD is 35 degrees. Find the measure of angle DAB. So we need to go from D to A to B. So I need to find this angle down here. So how does that help us? Well, it's the corollary to that triangle sum theorem. Because if this is 90 degrees here, then that means we have a 90-degree angle here, which means that it's also a right triangle for this little side here. That this little triangle, triangle ABD, is also a right triangle once we draw that in. So we know that DAB plus ABD is equal to 90 degrees. We're going to substitute in the measure that they gave us of 35 degrees. We're going to then, and that equals 9. Statements are there, guys? We then have to subtract 35 degrees from each side, and so we get the measure of angle DAB is equal to 55 degrees. But we've got to make sure that we recognize here that we also have a 90-degree angle. So we've got this linear pair with one of them being 90, that means the other has to be 90. All right, let's take a look at the exterior angle theorem. It says the measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measures of the two non-adjacent angles. So if here's angle 1, this is its adjacent angle. And so what that means is the measure of angle 1, this measure, is equal to the sum of measures of angle A and the measures of angle B, the two non-adjacent angles. All right, so let's look and see how we can use that to help us find the angle measures. So I know that A is 58 degrees. I know that C is 72 degrees, and they want me to find this measure of this exterior angle. Well, the exterior angle theorem says angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle A, the non-adjacent angle, plus the measure of angle C, the other non-adjacent angle. So I'm going to substitute in the values. 58 degrees plus 72 degrees is equal to 130 degrees. So the angle 1 has a measure of 130 degrees. All right, our checkpoint, complete the following exercises. Find the measure of angle A. So if we take a look at this, these are all interior angles. So that means the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C plus the measure of angle A has to add up to 180. So 65 plus 50 plus the measure of angle A equals 180. We can do our simplifying. 115 degrees plus the measure of angle A is equal to 180 degrees. And so we're going to get the measure of angle A is equal to 65 degrees. You guys are going to need to do number 2 on your own. Some of you are forgetting to do these somehow. And so I would pause the video right now and just do number 2. Take a few minutes, a few seconds to do that. If we take a look, it says find the measure of angle C. So we have a little bit of work to do here. All right. If we take a look here, we have a 90-degree angle and we have a 50-degree angle, and they're part of this little triangle here. Well, how does that help us? Because if I know A, then I can use A and B to find C. So it's kind of a little step process here. What we're going to look at here is that 50 degrees plus 90 degrees plus the measure of angle A has to equal 180. So I'm going to find the measure of angle A, and so I know that 140 degrees plus the measure of angle A is equal to 180 degrees. I find the measure of angle A is equal to 40 degrees when I subtract that. So I have this 40-degree angle here. That's part of this big triangle here of A, B, C. So that means the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C equals 180 degrees. Well, we just found that A is 40. We know that B is 90. And so that leaves me with just angle C to find. 130 degrees plus the measure of angle C equals 180 degrees. Subtract the 130. We find the measure of angle C is equal to 50 degrees. All right, we need to find an exterior angle. I need to find the measure of angle 2. Well, it's the sum of the non-adjacent. So it's the two farthest away. So the measure of angle 2 is equal to 60 degrees plus 60 degrees in this case. So the measure of angle 2 is equal to 120 degrees. So what I want you guys to do now on your own are 5 and 6. And once again, I would, as soon as you log off of YouTube, pause the video, I would do those right away because I really feel bad for you when you forget to go back and do these. So just pause the video real quick, do these last two, and we will see you in class tomorrow.